Here is the stove that I replaced my potbelly stove with. This is a Riley Colt, and it's somewhat safer than the pot-bellied stove that I had in here, which is in my YouTube video that you can see. Bush Girl installs wood stove and truck camper. This here is the Riley Colt, and as you can see, at the moment I'm burning off the stainless, what do you call it, galvanization or paint or whatever they've put on this stove. For the purposes of selling it, as soon as you get it, it burns off and turns gray instead of this nice shiny color. And as you can see, from handling this handle right here, it's gone all brown because I've used gloves that had creosote on them from cleaning out chimneys and things like that, and it just melted right on. It's such a hot door, and this little handle right here is just absolutely scorching hot. You can't use it without gloves, and if you use it with gloves, it melts the gloves. If you use it with leather gloves, they have to be clean gloves, or you're gonna, whatever you've got on those gloves will melt off onto the stove and stain the stove. So it's a really difficult stove to work with in terms of being able to just handle it without getting burned. And the surface gets extremely hot, which is seems to me hotter than the other one. And it's got some problems with the chimney. As you can see, it's melting off on there as well. The bright shiny finish that was on there has just vaporized, and boy did that smell bad. I didn't think you had to season the stove outside. I knew that I had to with the other stoves I had, but this one I didn't. This is 5-inch pipe, and what I did was I took the existing 6-inch pipe that I had installed for the other stove, and I left one piece of it, as you can see, in the top. So it gives an extra fire guard, but it also makes it so that I don't have to go up on the roof, take off the fire guard, and break the silicone seal that's all around the pipe and the flashing and everything else that's up there. I figured best to leave that the top piece of pipe on and run the 5-inch pipe up through the 6-inch pipe. So I took one piece off, and so it was a black pipe going all the way down to the other stove. And I took the one piece off, as you can see, and the other one is tight in there with the Roxol insulation, so it's not moving. It's pretty good. I mean, I can literally pull the 5-inch pipe out of that 6-inch piece, and it'll stay there. It doesn't fall down or anything. It's secured in there pretty good. So it made it easier for me to deal with instead of having to get new fire guards, new sealing, you know, new silicone and roof tar, and do the whole ball of wax again, especially because we're now into snow. And the temperature did go down. What was it, yesterday morning? Minus 33 degrees. And here I am just going to look out the window of my camper here. You can see there is snow on the ground. There is snow on the ground, and it's pretty cold out there. I'm not sure what it is right now. I could go and look at the temperature and show you. Let's go do that. Just, it warms up during the day, but it does, I'm in the camper here, so my dog is in there sleeping, trying to stay warm. And I am going to show you now my thermometer, which is sitting here, and it looks like it's right around 12 below zero, something like that, around that, 12 below. So that's hanging on the back of my camper. My camper is a mess because I'm traveling back and forth to my stations, and therefore I have to pack stuff not up in the cupboards because it flies out and it makes the camper top heavy. So, and I have so many bird feeding supplies in here, you know, 40 and 50 pound bags of food of different types, and I have to move it in and out. You can't store that overhead. So it is a bit messy right now, but I'm sitting here with my Riley stove, and as you can see, it's got legs. It's got these legs just slid right into this piece here. I just gave it a couple of bangs with a hammer and it was in. I'm not quite sure how to damp this stove down. It does have a damper on the pipe right here, but when I turn it all the way shut, the only thing that happens is the stove gets really hot, hotter than it was. And this thing damped the slider damper, which is right here. I can't even open it all the way because it's up against my fiber cement board here. Cement fiber board, whatever you want to call it, that's protecting the couch. Excuse me. So, I damp both those things right down, even with a small fire, and it does not damp the stove down. It continues to burn at almost the same clip that it was before I damped it. So it's not, in my opinion, as controllable as I would like. These pieces of pipe are snap together pipe. I don't mean just vertically. In fact, vertically they don't sit together very well, and they're very loose and precarious. Excuse me. I breathed in some smoke from the fire when I opened the door. So, it is snap together pipe. So what that means is there's a seam that runs down the pipe, and it's open, and you have to snap it together. Well, to me, that means there's a potential that it could unsnap. And if it unsnaps when you've got a fire burning, I don't know how often that happens, but I'm sure that it does. Particularly because this pipe is misshapen. When I got it, it wasn't perfectly round. And it's difficult to line up. Well, when you line up the seams, I don't know if you can see it here, but the pipe is not round. So you can see there's a gap right there. Right there. You can actually see into the first piece of pipe. And to me, it should sit straight. Now, if you were going to try and mend these seams together, these ones here, circular ones, so that the pipe would be secure, there's not enough pipe that goes down into it from the other piece, the way it's designed. There's not really enough there to put a screw in. So it makes me wonder what I'm going to do. It's very precarious. And as you can see, down there, the crimps in that pipe should be all the way into the stove. That piece is designed to sit all the way down in. Well, it's not. It's precariously balanced there with just the bit of it inside. But if you're going to push it all the way in, you need to hammer it, because it won't go otherwise. And if you hammer it, let's just say up here on this piece right here, if you hammer the top of that pipe right there, mind you, after you take the other pipe off, if you were to hammer that down in, this bends, because I found that out already trying to do that right here. I tried to hammer that down, and it bent the pipe, and I wasn't even hitting it very hard. So I'm not really quite sure what I'm going to do, other than I think it's pretty clear. I'm probably not going to keep this stove. I'm sure it's great for on the trail and if you're outside and camping outside, but if you're indoors, I don't recommend it, because to me it's not safe, and in many respects not even as safe as the other one that I had, which they called a hippie killer. A lot of people said it was not a good stove to have, that they go red hot. When they get too hot, they actually turn red and glow and can catch fire, and apparently you can't damp them down either. Although I did find it easier to damp down without a damper on the pipe in the other one, just by turning a little round circular vent open and closed to various degrees. I could seem to control the heat fairly quickly on that one. So as long as you have a small fire on one of those tin potbelly stoves from Home Hardware, they're not that bad. It's when you put too much wood in them and get them out of control, burning, that you're going to end up with a glow, possibly a fire, or the bottom falling out. And if you put sand and rock in the bottom of that stove, the potbelly stove, it prevents destruction of the floor of that stove. So you're going to get a lot more life out of it and safety. So plus it helps to put out the fire. I noticed when I had the sand in potbelly stove, I could scoop it and pour it over top of small coals and chunks of wood and stuff that were still burning when I wanted to get mobile and start driving. And I didn't want to wait for it to burn down, so I'd just dump sand over it and scoop the sand up and pour it over top, and it worked really well and really quickly. They say not to put sand in this one. I'm not quite sure why, but I guess it's safer. The floor is okay on these things, although like I say, it's got some problems already. Now, if I was just on the trail camping with a tent and packing this stove, which is what some people do, this kind of stove, this Riley Colt as they call it, it probably works really well. You can set it up really quick and tear it down really quick, and away you go. And I guess comparatively to other stoves, it's fairly light, although I wouldn't want to pack it. It's heavy to me. So here we go. The last look at this stove. And I'm probably looking at an elm stove. The man that makes the elm down in Vermont. Beautiful little stove. You can look him up online, and he's been making those for a while. And they're extremely nice stoves, extremely durable, extremely safe. I mean, you can tell by looking at it that it's a safe stove. A little heavier than some of the stoves that I've had, but that doesn't matter to me. He's going to try and make a really small one for me. But here we go. As you can see, the coloration change in the pipe. From it's now dark gray on the bottom, it's lighter gray up top with some streaks of darker gray. It's uneven all the way down, but you can see the shiny spot that's left is exactly what the stove color was and the pipe color was. I was hoping it would stay that way. Not a chance. It immediately began to change, and as you can see, it no longer looks like a new stove. So, and it actually is. I've only had it in here for a week, but it was real easy. I just pulled out the other stove, you know, lifted the 6-inch pipe off that stove, pulled the stove out, took it outside, dragged this one in, put the legs on first though, and the slider bar, which was not on, I had to put it on myself, and then I just put the first piece of pipe on, the one with the damper, on top of the stove, and put it in as far as I could without damaging the pipe. And then I took the second piece, which you see there, and a third piece that's up there on top of the second piece, which you can't see, it's inside the black pipe and out the roof. And I dropped that down from outside. Took the chimney cap off the 6-inch pipe, dropped the 5-inch through the two pieces that were together, and sort of guided them down onto the top of the first piece, and pushed it down as hard as I could without cutting my hands. And believe me, this is sharp metal, and I have cut myself, even when I was being careful handling this stove and its pipe. It's very sharp. So for that purpose, I wouldn't want to carry it on the trail. I mean, you know, if it's banging around and you're touching it and it's up against your body, it could easily cut you. But trying not to be negative, other than I don't think this Colt is going to work for me. And for now, this is what I'm going with until I can rustle up another stove. So stove number 2, mistake number 2, but you live and learn. It's the only way. As long as you keep your windows open. Whoops, there's a shot of something, isn't it? As long as you keep your window open and the air coming through, preferably on both sides, which I do have this one open as well, but it's got a curtain just to keep some of the coldness down because it's quite cold out there, and that air is nippy coming in. You're pretty good. I got a little bit of snow on my, oops, I got signs on my door, slow vehicle and all that. See all that snow on my window? That's from kicking it up off the road as I drove down here. So it's a bit messy right now, so let's just call it a camper under construction. And it's basically a mobile bird feeding station. And we're getting there. One of these days, by the time I get a really good stove in here, it's probably going to be time to throw the camper away. I mean, it's old. It's falling apart in places, and I need another one, so including another truck. But you get to those when you get to those things. So I'm still using the existing fire guard and the top piece of the 6-inch pipe that I had for the other stove, and I ran the 5-inch pipe through 6-inch pipe down onto stove, and here we are burning our little crazy stove, and it's keeping us warm, but I'd really could do without the smell of that galvanized steel burning that finish off. Whatever's in that, I don't know. Till next time, signing off. It's Arlene. Bush girl installs second mistake. Wood stove in truck camper. There you go.